Hello, everyone. This is Jay, and I'm just popping in here a few minutes early so that we can get our audio and video set up with our guest, Yehonathan. Hi, Bernard. Hi, Nola. Hi, Yehonathan. Great. I'm going to go ahead and share the stage with Yehonathan now. And let's see, I'll click on Share Stage. And I'm confirming that I want to do that. And you should see it pop up on your screen, Yehonathan, inviting you to accept my invitation. Hello.
I see myself twice.
Yes, you must be very special. You're in here twice. Let me...
Because I'm here as a presenter and also as a participant, probably.
Yeah. So let's see if I can fix that up here. And I'm in the studio. I'm going to close one of your windows there.
That's it.
Okay. Two heads are always better than one. Yeah, Nola, exactly. Well, welcome, Yehonathan.
Thank you. Thank you for having me as a guest. I'm happy to be part of this wonderful forum, the value of learning. And hopefully we can make a great stuff all of us together.
I feel exactly the same way, and thank you for your kind words. We will get started here on the hour with our official message, and in the meantime, this is an opportunity for everyone who's already here to start getting to know each other. So I'll kind of go over, I'll wait until we're right on the hour before I go over how the interface works and how we can best use it. That way we make sure that everyone's included. But I believe with Nola being our final attendee to sign up, she signed up within the hour, actually. My friend Nola from Austin, Texas. She is the 20th person, so we actually have 20 people signed up besides yourself and myself. So, which is pretty fantastic considering we just started talking about this on, I think it was Tuesday.
Yeah, that's great. And I hope that by having more quantity than we expected, we haven't lost anything about quality.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think they're pretty much here to see you, Yehonathan, because I don't know that I could have gotten this much interest without such a compelling topic as Klipse. So I'm very excited to just follow our nose and see where this conversation leads.
Thank you.
And so if I see that we have 10 people in the room. Hello, Jan. Hello, Nina. I'm so glad you could make it. Hi, Bob. Hi, DJ Z, Pastor Hazy, Paul, and Bernard, learning teacher. Oh, that's great. I'm just thrilled that we have so many folks with us already.
Oh, we also have Daniel from Israel.
Oh,
Hi.
Wonderful.
Hi, Daniel.
Okay, great. Hi, Daniel. Welcome. We have just a couple of minutes left until we get officially started. Is there anything informal that you wanted to sneak in before we officially start our meeting, Yehonathan?
Yeah, I can mention Paulus, which is here as Pesterazi, who is has become one of the Klipse collaborators. He brings great ideas about the design of the Klipse app, so I'm really happy that he joined the venture. And I will say it again, but I can say it now. It's an open source project. Everyone that wants to contribute is more than welcome. Contribution can be small as fixing typos in the README or enriching the README with better information, more accurate information, better explanation. And it could be also feature request. It could be to open bugs, and it could be also to fix bugs or to implement by yourself code or features. I'm very open, so almost every idea that you will have will be accepted, probably. So,
well, great.
and if you have no idea, the backlog, my backlog is also published as a GitHub project. So you can take a look there and see if you want to take one of these ideas from them. So really, every contribution is welcome.
So you have is it a separate repository, your backlog?
No, in the same repository, there is this kind of new thing in GitHub where you can have the issues, part of the issue visualized as a Kanban board. So it's a bit more convenient. I can share it now if you want.
Okay. Oh, that'd be great.
Let me see if I can share my screen.
Yes, I can invite you to share your screen. Okay. If you want to, you could just paste that URL in the chat for now. And what I can do is we've struck the hour, which means we're officially started. And so if you're just popping in the room here, we haven't officially started without you. You're not late. And so welcome everyone who's coming into the room just now. We have 20 participants who registered, and we have 12 who are here. So we may have some folks coming in over the next few minutes, and that's fine. They can catch up with us. We're just going to proceed on time. So hello, everyone. My name is Jay Martin. I gave a talk at Closure Remote 2017 called The Value of Learning. And in that talk, I announced the formation of an online discussion forum called discuss.thevalueoflearning.org, where we talk about our shared interest of learning, of programming in Closure, and of learning about learning. So it's a little bit of a meta type conversation. Everyone is welcome. It's free. It's we work around open source software. Many of us might use other tools that are not fully open source, like Datomic, etc. The thing I just want to let folks know is that we have so once a month we get together like we're doing right now, and we have discussions, or we have a guest speaker. Today we have Yehonathan Sharvit from Israel. Yehonathan, welcome.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Thank you for being with us. And I'm gonna kind of turn it over to Yehonathan in a minute. But first, I just wanna let you know that we are going to be meeting about once a month in this group. After about 6 months to 9 months, I'll start hosting a weekly Ask Me Anything for new programmers, and you all will be welcome to come in and support me, doing that with new programmers, or you can start your own channels. I know Nola has a channel on, Nola, you might put a link into your channel on, I think it's livecoding.tv, where programmers can come in and ask questions. So that's something that I'd like to do. And then quarterly, once every 3 months, we're going to get together and we're just going to hack on things like have a weekend hackathon where we just get together and build projects around learning together. And but this group, even though we are a group, really one of our core purposes is to support the individual programmer, the individual learner, the individual teacher. And toward that goal, we will sort of be encouraging individual learning projects along the way. So one of the things that Yehonathan and I have planned is that we will meet again in 1 month from now to reconvene and go over our individual work. What is it that I have done with Klipse over the next month after having seen today's webinar. And so each of us can sort of figure out, how does Klipse fit in with the goals that I have around learning Clojure or sharing Clojure with other people, and getting started with my own project with Klipse, and then meeting back here in a month and going over that. So this will be kind of fun. We're going to connect up this meeting, with the future meeting, and then Yehonathan may even come back more than that sometimes to check in with us. And he's also a member of our discussion group. So what we can do is, I've already done an introduction. We can have about 45 minutes of Yehonathan going over the fundamentals of Klipse, and then we can talk for 10 minutes as a group about what we want our individual projects, about ideas for individual projects, and Yehonathan might help us with the types of things that we can do. And then for the final 5 minutes of today's meeting, we'll wrap it up and say goodbye, and talk about what we can talk about next time, and about discussion forum itself. So with that, we can be interactive. You can ask questions, and what I'd like to do is just to so we have 14 people that are with us now. Thanks everyone for being with us. Here's how we can do this. If you have a question that you want to present to Yehonathan, if you will, come over to the questions tab underneath where the screens are presented, and ask your question there. Then Yehonathan and I can keep an eye out. It'll notify us when there's a question there. And then you as attendees can kind of chat amongst yourselves in the chat. We'll also be reading the chat, but it'll just be easier when you have a direct question for Yehonathan. If you'll type that into the questions tab, it'll just make it easier for us to parse and see that question standing out. So with that, I once again want to welcome Yehonathan. Yehonathan, I'm going to let you kind of take the stage, and I'll just give you a couple of leading questions, which is, what is Klipse? How did you get started working on this? And how can we use it to help others learn and teach Clojure?
Okay. So thank you, Jay, for the introduction. Yeah, so I don't have slides. I have a lot of links, interactive links. I have kind of a mind map of what I want to talk about, but it's more an open discussion. And really what I'd like to do is to wake up your curiosity, and hopefully by the end of this talk, you will come with great ideas to enrich the webosphere or the blogosphere with stuff that could help people to have a more effective learning experience around Clojure, but maybe also around the other languages. So in the maybe in the first minute, I will just present what is Klipse, how is it built, what is the value of Klipse, what are the current applications of Klipse that I'm aware of, and then we can discuss together about further application or upcoming application. I can suggest a couple of them, but as I said, if you have, I'd love to receive and to discover new ideas. So let me just, Jay, can you give me the capability to share my screen?
Absolutely. I'm clicking on share screen now. And, oh, wait, that's, Do you have a button on your side?
No, I don't have any button for share screen. Maybe I should refresh.
This might be, let's see here. This isn't something that we tested ahead of time. Let's see here. Yes, we're learning as we go.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me look up here. Okay. Maybe you could talk about Klipse for just a minute or two longer while I look this up.
Yeah, sure. So Klipse has started a year and a couple of months ago when I wanted to provide to myself basically the ability to see the transpilation of the ClojureScript code. So ClojureScript transpiles Clojure into JavaScript, and from time to time you want to take a small snippet and see how it is transpiled. And I was really surprised to discover that there were no such tool online. So obviously you can create your own ClojureScript project, and then you will see the transpiled JavaScript. And sometimes you just want a short snippet. You don't want to build the whole project, just to understand how some piece of code is transpiled into JavaScript. So this is how I build Klipse as a tool for myself. And I think that it's a great way to start with tools to really build something that you need and not something that you think that others might need. And then I started to blog about it, to use this tool into my blog and to include Clojure snippets with their transpilation sometimes, and sometimes just the evaluation. And I think it was a unique experience for me. It was the first time that I was blogging, but also as a reader, I think I never saw interactive snippets into a blog post. From time to time, you see a link to a feed, a JS fiddle probably, or sometimes an iframe that includes the JS fiddle. But most of the time, what you see as a reader in technical blog is just static snippets. So you see the writer say, if you run this code, you will get this out with usually with comments, console log and then / and the supposed result of the evaluation. But I think as a reader, I felt that it's really frustrating because you don't want just to believe the author that his code runs properly. You want to see the code running. And something else is that when you want to understand how code works, I think the best way to understand how code works is to interact with the code. So if you just see a piece of code and you understand that this piece of code A will be evaluated as a result B, that's fine. But what if you want to have a tag or a tag or something completely different, and to experiment, to play with the code, it's impossible. So this is exactly the problem that Klipse solves. And in my opinion, in my feeling, I would say, this is the interactive part is a really important part of an effective learning experience. So I'd love to show you a bit of stuff, but for the moment, I don't have the possibility to share my screen. So I will continue with the story.
Well, Yehonathan,
yeah.
We can try this now. I have a blue button underneath.
So let me refresh. I need to refresh.
Yeah. Okay, so when Yehonathan refreshed, I think that sort of booted him out. So I'm going to. Okay, you're refreshed. Let me share the stage with you. And
see the screen share button.
Okay.
Okay, so let me share my screen. Oh, I need to install the screen sharing extension.
Yes, there you go.
So do you have the link?
Right.
Do you have the link?
For the screen sharing extension, it should be that you click on that right there and it will install it for you.
No, it was just an alert box. And then I pressed OK.
Okay.
But
oh,
Nina put a link. Maybe I could try it.
Okay.
Share screen. Share the chat. Join.
Okay,
No.
I'm going to look up in the Chrome's extensions. If you want to,
okay, so I continue a bit.
If you have more stories to share, I can look that up for you and send you a link.
Okay, so so just to summarize, Klipse is two things. It's a web REPL that I will show in a minute, and it's also a plugin for transforming transforming static code snippet into interactive code snippets. And it, for the moment, it supports something around 10 languages. So ClojureScript, JavaScript, Ruby, Python, Scheme, BrainFuck, and maybe one or two more that I forgot to mention.
I've just shared that extension with you, Yehonathan.
So let me. Sorry for the.
Well, this was my responsibility. I should have considered that you needed to share your screen, but I didn't think about it. It's so easy for me to share mine. I thought they would make it easy for you to share yours as well.
Okay, so can you see my screen?
There you are. Yeah, I'll increase that for you. Okay, so now we're just looking at your screen. Can everyone see that? Oh, thank you, Daniel. Nola. Okay, great. All right, so it looks like.
Okay, so after a lot of words, a bit of interactivity and a small demo of what is Klipse and maybe what is not. So here is the basic web REPL. It's only Clojure, and I can write snippets, and it will be evaluated. It's a bit different than a kind of a JS Fiddle experience, because it's based on the idea that you want to execute code. So it doesn't contain all the HTML stuff and not the CSS. It could be a drawback, but it can also be an advantage. So this is one thing, and Paulus will help to redesign it and to be a bit more compelling, because for the moment it's really flat and maybe a bit boring. But okay, so basically this is the web REPL. The nice thing about it, from the learner perspective, is that once you have a piece of code, an interesting piece of code, let's say you want to share it on Slack or on a forum, or to send to a friend, or to ask questions, instead of, so usually what you would do, even on Clojure and Slack, you will take this code and you will paste it and you will say, oh, I don't understand why, for example, the result is not a vector, it's a list. And you will put this, as a static snippet, and it will be kind of a boring experience. What I would expect people to do, and people have started to do it, is to use the share feature of Klipse, where you see when I press Ctrl-R, the code is included into the URL. And now when I take this URL in any tab or any browser, I will also put it in our chat. Then you will have the code, you will have Klipse open with this code already. And as, for example, let's say I ask this question, why the answer is a bracket, or what could I make to have the answer be a vector? So you can answer the question by sending me back a Klipse snippet, an interactive Klipse snippet. So I think for newcomers, it could be really, really interesting to use this sharing feature. So this is one thing about Klipse as an app, as a kind of a REPL. It's not exactly a REPL, but kind of a web REPL. Okay, another thing that I mentioned is the fact that Klipse, I mentioned my blog, and the fact that Klipse is a plugin. So basically, when you write a blog, usually you use a lot of plugin to enrich the writing and the reading experience. And what you can do with Klipse is, so let me take something that is a bit simple, not too complicated.
I thought that was really cool how you can put the code in the URL, Yehonathan. That is a really neat feature.
Yeah, it's a simple one, but it's an interesting. Okay, so let's look, for example, at the structuring enclosure, a very old post, almost 1 year old. So you see here, this is what I call the Klipse snippet. And if, as a reader, if you play with the code, it is evaluated immediately. So it allows you to experiment. You understand what happens if here, for example, instead of X, you call it, will it work? Won't it work? Here, it doesn't work. So it allows you to experiment a lot, and this is kind of cool. So this is as a reader, but here we are, I think we are here to talk about us as helping other people to learn. So let me show you what you need to do if you want to include clips inside an HTML page, for example, a blog post. So let's look at the source of the page. So let's look for this snippet. Yeah. So here is my snippet, and I put it into a regular pre-code element with a special class named Klipse. And usually, if you use Markdown, you will use the triple backtick and Klipse, and it will be transformed into pre-code class language dash something. Mm-hmm. So I have a lot of snippets like this. And what you need is just at the end of the body, you need to add the Klipse JavaScript tag, which is composed of 3 parts. First of all, the CSS, then the Klipse settings, and then the Klipse JavaScript tag itself. And in the settings, the only thing that you need to specify is this line. What is the selector that you want to use to identify your snippet and make them interactive?
Here so that's the only required. That's the only required setting.
Yeah, exactly. Here in my blog, I use a lot of languages, so I have one selector for each language. So this is for Clojure, this is for JavaScript, this is for JSX, this is for ECMAScript 2017, this is for BrainFact, this is for PHP, this is for Markdown. So a lot of them probably you don't need all of them, but so to start you will need only one. And the reason that the Clojure selector is named selector is that at the beginning I didn't think that I will have more than one language. So this is why Clojure has this special situation. So it's really, really simple. I mean, it takes it takes, I don't know, 5 minutes to get the Klipse Hello World. You just put a HTML page, you include a snippet, and then you specify the selector and include this 3-liner, the JavaScript tag, and you get this.
Could you I'm sorry, Yehonathan. Could you increase your font size just a little bit on that example page? I think the web page there looks fine, but the that one, the code could be a little bigger. Oh, great! Yeah. Thank you.
And it's documented on the README of the Klipse GitHub repository, but just to be aligned. So this is one thing. Yeah. So let me. So here it's most of my blog posts you will see deal with data. So there is a piece of code, and the last expression is evaluated, and you see here the result of the last expression. A cool feature that I added after a while is that if you print stuff, it will be also part of the output if you want, and you can print as many lines as you want. And the last expression is always outputted in the evaluation box.
Yehonathan, that was really interesting on the code that you were showing us. Is there any way you could trim out everything but the minimum that's required, so we could see, so we could see everything that's required and nothing else?
Yeah. So I think I have a link to that.
Just while we're starting out, that would help us kind of wrap our brain about what the actual fundamental pieces are.
Definitely. So yes, I have a link.
Is anyone else as intrigued as I am so far? This is kind of really neat.
So let me put this link. So here is an example of a JS fiddle. I think kind of a minimal JS fiddle that includes Klipse. In this example, it's JavaScript snippet, but it will be probably almost the same for closure snippet, and we can make it. I can do the. So again, this is my HTML. So I have a p element and an h1 and a div with this class named Klipse, and this is my JavaScript code that I want to make interactive. And this is another piece of JavaScript code. And so the minimal settings that I need is those 3 lines. Again, the CSS required for Klipse, the settings. Here I specify that my snippets are of type eval.js. And here is the JavaScript tag. And the result is like this.
Yes.
So if I want to have a closure tab, a closure snippet, what I need to do, let me do it live. So
Great.
I will go there. Oh, for some reason I cannot edit. Oh, sorry. So I will have selector.
Yehonathan, Nola just said she just got it working in a blog post doing def records. So we already have a success story to share.
Yeah, cool.
Cool, Nola. That's awesome.
Oh, you tried just now.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So maybe you can share your link, and I will open it so everybody can enjoy from it.
All right. Well.
Okay. So meanwhile, just to show you what you need to do, I'm adding a new kind of selector, and if I add here another div with the class being closure. Oh, it was closed. My favorite snippet. Map ink 1, 2, 3. And if I press run, it didn't work. Selector, closure, class, closure.
Oh, this is awesome. We get to troubleshoot something already. I love this. This is probably more educational than having everything work smoothly, I think. So right now we're looking at the minimum that's required to get Klipse up and going.
Let's see
and
if I can debug it without wasting too much time.
That's okay.
Selector. Oh, I know. Yes. Okay. So this is something actually very interesting. Yeah.
Okay.
Nice. Okay. So if you look at if you look at this URL, the URL of the Klipse JavaScript tag.
Okay.
Is the font big enough?
That's good there. Yeah, I think.
Okay. So you see that this is the minified version of the Klipse plugin.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the minified version of the Klipse plugin doesn't work with Closure because self-host Closure script doesn't work with advanced optimization. So in Closure, okay, you can compile your code into when you are in dev environment, you compile it with the no optimization, and when you're on production, you optimize it with the Google Closure advanced optimization. And
okay.
Because you need, and one of the things that the Closure compiler does is to rename your symbols with shorter names. But if you do that, you will lose all the name that you have in the Closure core namespace, like map, etc. So for the moment, and probably it will be like that forever, When you want to use closure, you need to use the non-minified version. And I think that this is the proper URL. Let me try.
It still says min. It still says min there.
So oh yeah, sorry. So I removed not the correct part of the URL.
And then, and so what I heard you say is that it has to do with the self-hosted version of Clojure.
Yeah, I will elaborate about it in a minute.
Okay, so we'll get into what all that means here in a little while.
Yeah, exactly. So now, what is the problem? Is that the proper URL? Plugin prod.js. Klipse plugin. Let me see if it's the good URL. It should be. Let me take it from here as is.
Perfect. That's probably what I'll be doing, a little copying and pasting.
Oh, a bit better.
There we go.
Yeah, and here we have our Clojure snippet.
Okay.
Okay.
So we just needed the correct URL in that that script.
Yeah.
And that's a script element, and the source is pointing to the Klipse plugin. That's the JavaScript code that's driving the actual example. Okay, very good.
Exactly. Okay, so if we talked about, so let me talk a bit more about self-host Clojure script, what it is. And I have an example here. Yeah, so back in 2015, July 2015, David Nolan wrote a very important post on his blog saying that now Clojure script is able to evaluate itself, which means that the eval function of Clojure is now supported inside Clojure script, and the same for the compilation, which means that I am able in Clojure script to eval and compile Clojure script code. And this is kind of the graal of any language, to be able
the Holy Grail.
Yeah, the Holy Grail, to be able to evaluate itself. And this is what makes Klipse possible with Clojure. So now I'm going to do something a bit that might give you a bit of dizziness or headache. I'm going to use self-host Clojure script inside Klipse that itself uses self-host Clojure script. So bear with me, please. So if this piece of code is able to run on a regular Clojure script environment, and if you run it in a regular Clojure script environment, I will show you how you can compile and evaluate code. Let's concentrate on the evaluation first. So there is this namespace, cljs.js, which is part of the Clojure script code. You can find it on GitHub. And when you require, and this namespace exposes a couple of functions. One of them is the eval str. So eval str stands for eval string. This is the string that I want to evaluate, plus 1, 2. And the API is a bit not convenient. You have to pass to it a lot of parameters that you would think that you don't need them. But I will try to explain why actually you need them. The first parameter is the state, the compiler state that it is used by the eval function. The second parameter is the string that you want to evaluate. The third parameter is, I think, the name. I'm not sure what, I don't remember what, it's kind of a name, maybe for the namespace where this code is going to be evaluated, something like that. Sorry for not being 100% accurate. This one is a map with a couple of options. that you need to specify. One of them is the actual eval function. And the last one is a transformation function that you want to do with the result of the evaluation. So let's see it in action here when I evaluate this piece of code.
And identity is not doing any transformation. It's just returning the thing itself. Is that right?
Exactly. Okay. So here, when I evaluate +1, 2, the result is a map with the namespace of the evaluation. So it's not this namespace. This, I don't remember what it is. Forget about this parameter. Sorry about that. So here I am still in the CLJS user namespace. And the result is value 3. And let's say I just want the result. So I could pass another function. Probably something like that. Okay. So if I want to take the value out of the map, I will do it this way. So this is what makes Klipse possible, this function. There is a similar function for compiling. So here in this side, you see the result of the print. And in this case, you see the result. This is the result of the compilation. Def x1 is transpiled as cljs user.x equals 1. So this is JavaScript code. This is the result of the transpilation of this piece of code.
Okay, so we're seeing in the lower right corner there, we're seeing the code as the browser sees it at execution time.
Yes, exactly. And the reason for all these parameters is that it's highly configurable and tweakable. First of all, ClojureScript runs in a couple of environments. It doesn't run only in the browser. It could be in the browser, and it could be also in a Node.js environment. Secondly, when you do a require like this, when you want to require a namespace, the self-host mechanism doesn't know a priori how do you want to resolve the namespace. So if you are in a regular project environment, the namespace resolution will be by looking into files in your computer. But here, inside Klipse, I don't have any file. I cannot do what you as a user, when you run Klipse, I cannot do what is installed in your computer. And I don't want to require you to install stuff in order to be able to use Klipse. This is one of the biggest value of Klipse, that you can use it with zero installation. So what I did is that if you think about namespaces, there are a couple of cases. One use case is that when you require a namespace that is part of the ClojureScript. Another use case is when you require a namespace that is somewhere in the web, somewhere in GitHub or in Clojure or in any, so where there is a URL for this namespace. And this is exactly what I did with Klipse. So when you specify here in the map a load function like this, let me do it this way. Let's do an alert. No, let's do a print. Sorry. So this is something a bit important, but I'm not sure that in a couple of minutes I will be able to explain it correctly, but just for you to get the idea. Now let's see what happened. So first of all, let's not specify any load function. Let's see what happened if I try to require something. Require namespace A. Okay, so you see here I have an error. Could not require A. And the reason for the error is that no load function is set. So now I'm going to specify a load function. Something like that, just with a print. Okay, and here you see, so my load function is just a print. So when this function is called, it will print its arguments. And here you can see what my function prints. And then you can understand what is passed to the function. So this one is a callback. So you see the source of the callback, which is not too useful, super useful. And this one is the map that identifies this statement. So here you see the name of the namespace. And here you see the path of the namespace. And here you see whether it's a macro or not. So let's play with it a bit. Let's suppose that my namespace is a composed namespace, my cool namespace. You will see that the name is with the dots, but the path is with slashes. And if I do a require macro, we'll see the macro is true. And with those three pieces of information, you should be able to resolve the namespace. And this is what makes the integration of closure inside Klipse interesting, because you are not only able to deal with just the code that is part of the standard library, you can deal with any piece of code. Okay, maybe I will talk about it later, but I don't want to spend the whole time with that.
Yes, and I did just want to clarify, this is something that Bernard mentioned yesterday, and kind of tripped me up a little bit too when I first looked at Klipse, is that when you say closure, you pretty much always mean closure script.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Okay, very good. So
yeah, it's important to clarify it.
Because we wouldn't be able to have the JVM running inside the browser, and all of this is client side. Yeah,
so this is also one important feature of Klipse. Everything is client side. There is no server component at all. Okay, I see that we have around 10 minutes left. So let me see what else I want to share. Yeah, so let's go back to the blog. So this is where we left. Yeah, okay. So here is, you see a closure snippet that does data manipulation, I would say. But it's not limited to data manipulation, because you are inside the browser, and you could argue that this kind of stuff could be done server side. You could write a server, and there are a lot of servers like that receive this piece of code, evaluate it, and returns you back this as a string, and you will have it here. But what you could not do with a server component is stuff like that. So let me show you this amazing blog. This is a guy named Eric. His blog is Exupero. Every time I read one of his blog posts, my mind is blown. It's amazing. You will see an example. So here he wrote a blog post about how to do fractals with just two commands. It's the turtle command from the logo system. So what you can do with the turtle is forward and turn. How many steps to go forward, and what is the angle of the rotation that you want to do. So for example, you could draw a rectangle like that. And you will see with a couple of lines, it's able to do very, very advanced stuff. So here it's an Hilbert fractal of depth 1. Here it's depth 2. Mm-hmm. Here is depth 3, depth 4, depth 5. And it goes like that. And you can also play with the angles. It shouldn't be only 90. It could be any angle that you want. And then you get weird stuff. So
Bernard likes that.
Yeah,
nice, Bernard.
It's amazing, and this is what I say. You could not do stuff like that with a server-side component. And because you are in the browser, you can manipulate the DOM as you want. So here there is a canvas, and the draw function, whose implementation is hidden. But if you open the source, you will see the implementation. So here is the draw function. It's canvas manipulation. And you see here, this is a Klipse snippet, but that is hidden because the reader doesn't care about your implementation. You just want to.
So for things that we don't need to be visualized, we can put that into a hidden div.
Yeah, hidden element. And it's a regular, from Klipse perspective, it's a regular Klipse snippet, so it will be evaluated. And then the draw function is available to any snippet.
So those objects in memory, those objects are in memory, but they're not things that need to be visible on the screen. So we can access those programmatically from things that are visible or other things that are not visible.
Completely, yes.
Very good.
Another way of doing the same stuff would be to put this code somewhere in GitHub, for example, and then by using a property named data external lib, you could upload or load this code without having it to be part of your blog post. So this is another way of doing the same stuff.
Could you repeat that? Could you repeat that?
I will repeat and also show an example. So if you want, let me show an example. It will be a bit clearer.
Excellent.
Yeah. So for example, this guy wrote a small implementation or partial implementation of scheme in Clojure. And you see here, so this is the namespace that you want to use for this blog post. And here is requiring his namespace, scheme.core. It's not part of Clojure, definitely. It's definitely not part of Clojure. But if you look at the source, you will see this part. You see the data external lib element. Forget about the first one. But if you look at the second one, this is the root path, kind of the class path of his repository that implements scheme core. So if I go there, this is not valid because I have to specify scheme. This is the implementation, and this is a regular GitHub repository. And a cool thing about GitHub is that the files are also exposed as raw files. So
yes.
So when Klipse sees this property, it takes all of the element that has passed to it as the root path to resolve the namespaces. So this guy, Exupero, could have done the same. He could have put all of this draw function into a Git repository and provides the root path of this repository, and then it will be available in, let's say you want to write a couple of blog posts with the same code, with the same draw function, it will be more convenient to do that.
So now, how can you show us, what I heard you say is that I can use the raw GitHub file as the content of a namespace.
Yes.
And so right here, what I see is I see that we're defining a namespace called my.scheme.
Yeah, so this is just the namespace that you want to give to your code in the blog post. And this is the namespace that you want to require. But there is no connection between the two.
Okay, and so we're requiring a namespace called scheme.core.
Yeah, let me show you
and
another thing.
Yes. Where is scheme.core? Okay, there's the scheme.core. So it's going to match it up. That's got to match right there with the raw file. I see.
So this is the regular GitHub browser, right? So this is the repository of this guy. And if you take any file, for example, the core, you can press this button. I don't know if you have ever pressed it, raw. And it will give you the URL of the raw file, not because you don't want to load all this HTML. You just want the raw file. And then in order to make it work into Klipse, you need to take from it the root. So the root will be probably this.
Everything up to
the scheme.
So how do you know where to take it up to? I see there's source. That's I probably would have gone to after source right there, but
you know So if you decide to require your namespace by giving the name scheme.core, this will be appended to the root that you give. So you need, so here is the scheme.core. So you need to pass all of this prefix. Sorry.
Okay.
Until this point.
Okay, very good.
If you want to call it cljc.scheme.core, which doesn't make sense, but you could, and then you will have to pass only this part.
Is that making sense to everyone? Does anyone have any questions?
So this is very important. This is a very important feature if you want to blog about your library. If you want to blog about a standard library of the language, it's Clojure Core or even Clojure Spec or whatever, you don't need to add to deal with the externally. But if you want to blog about your own library, you probably will need to deal with this property.
Okay. And looks like folks are following along, Yehonathan. They're able to understand the basic gist of this. I think I had a little bit of a question about how you, well, maybe I'll let you kind of finish up with this example.
No, I'm done with this example. I just wanted to mention a couple of applications that are currently available. Please. And then you would share if you have ideas. So basically what you could do with Klipse is to write blog posts. This is one application. Another application would be to, let me see if I can find it. Yeah, it would be to use, as I did in the Clojure Remote conference, to build slides with Klipse. So here's an example that I used to teach Klipse at work. So it's a real life example. This is the basics of Clojure, but presented with the trick with the Klipse snippets. So again, this is completely interactive. Those are HTML powered slides with deck.js, and I've made kind of a Klipse plugin for deck.js. It's documented somewhere. Where is it documented? Let me get Klipse here. It's not completely documented, but you can look at examples here if you are interested. The reason why it's not documented is because it's not really a plugin. It's just that you have to include the Klipse JavaScript tag in order to make it work. So
that's for doing presentations.
Yeah, that's for doing slides.
Okay.
Another application is the Klipse Codocs Klipse theme. So Codocs is a tool, an old Clojure tool to generate documentation automatically based on your code. And what I made is a plugin to Codocs. And then you could get this kind of stuff, which is interactive documentation with Klipse. So I would hope this feature, this tool to be used a lot, because if you have a Clojure or a Clojure script library, there is no reason why not to include interactive documentation. And usually when as a library user, the thing that you want the most to do with the code is not to read the documentation, is to play with examples. Because usually this is too abstract to understand what it means. But when you play with it, you understand exactly what it does, and you can also catch edge cases. And it will be interesting to think about an integration with Clojure Spec, because then you could generate these examples with zero effort, just by saying exercise. So it's something I'm thinking about.
Absolutely.
Another nice tool that, again, Paulus encouraged me to develop and gave me the idea is like this. So probably you know this website, right? clojuredocs.org.
Oh yeah.
Everybody uses it. It's a documentation based by example. So let's take a look at it. the map function. As I said at the beginning of my talk, you see the examples are static. So it says, if you run this, you will get that. If you run this, you will get, and I guarantee you that there are errors in this website. If you look around, you will find errors. And I want to play. I want to be able to change. So I try to convince this guy, Zach Tellman, to use Klipse. And at the beginning, he was very enthusiastic, but he never did it. So what I did is, so let's load this website. So there is here a bookmarklet. I don't know if you remember that from the old days of the web.
Oh yeah.
And this bookmarklet will load Klipse, and it will transform a website into an interactive website.
No, you just didn't do that.
You see here?
Oh my goodness, this is amazing. My mind is just blown.
This is funny.
Oh my goodness. Is anybody else just like going crazy right now?
So this was a Paulus idea. This was not mine. So all the credit go to him. And if you look at the code of the bookmarklet, it's almost nothing. I can even, it's here. I can even share it with you guys. Just a minute.
Okay.
This is the bookmarklet. You need to drag. I think you need to drag and drop into your bookmark bar. And the nice thing is that it works also on mobile. The way it works in mobile is if you install this bookmarklet on Chrome, then after a while you go to your mobile Chrome navigator and you type Klipsify, and it will find the bookmark and it will transform the page. So that's kind of nice. And I want to throw in the air the idea of writing a Chrome extension for Klipse. So instead of having to press this button every time you want to Klipsify your website, you could have an extension that with a, I don't know, maybe a whitelist of websites supported, and it will transform them automatically. And one of the big clients for it will be gist.github. And if this extension is out there, you could Klipsify any gist. Actually, I tried to do it, but it almost worked. Let me show you an example.
Well, Yehonathan, maybe we could transition and start answering some questions. No, your enthusiasm is contagious. I think we're all really intrigued, and your presentation has been hugely compelling. So just wanted to make sure we had time for folks' questions. Nola was asking, how are you hosting your JavaScript from Google's domain?
Oh, it's hosted in, I think it's called Google Cloud Storage. Let me show you.
Okay, on Google Cloud Storage. Okay, so
that's here. It's like S3 with a UI that is a bit more nice, a bit nicer. So this is where it's hosted.
Okay, and okay, very good. Is that, I think Nola's got that. One of the things, one of my new friends, Nina, is with us from Austin, Texas as well. We've got a couple of folks from Austin, Texas today. And one of the things I was telling her about is that part of what makes Klipse so powerful or so interesting is this it really leverages the power of Lisp. And you were talking to me about this the other day, Yehonathan, about any good Lisp can also evaluate a Lisp. Could you kind of talk about that, just that meta aspect of Klipse and ClojureScript for a second more?
So I've read a couple of times that one of the foundation of Lisp is not only the parentheses and the fact that it's functional, it's also that the REPL is part of is almost part of the language. And the dev workflow includes a lot of REPL stuff. So you write code and you experiment with the code, you play with the code, and then you you adjust your code. So the interactive part and the fact that in any Lisp environment, you can evaluate almost at any time your code to experiment with it and to play with it is definitely in the essence of Lisp and obviously of Clojure and also of ClojureScript. I think the idea with Klipse is that to bring the same foundation to the web. So and then every web page should be evaluable, and this is the philosophy of Klipse.
And is this the power behind what we're seeing with some of the features that you're able to do with the Klipsify, or
yes,
is that
exactly? So any snippet should be evaluated.
Yeah.
And by the way, I want to show you something in the Clojurian Slack that you probably don't know.
Yes, please.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
So there is this thing. This is the way it works. I'm not sure. Did you know that you can evaluate code on CLJ?
No, I did not know that in Slack.
Yeah.
Huh?
So you type /CLJ and you can evaluate code.
Interesting. Is that for multiple languages or just Clojure?
Just Clojure, and obviously you cannot. I think you cannot require anything. Let me try.
Interesting. I guess maybe the founders of Slack are using Clojure for the platform?
I think it's a plugin written by the member of the Clojurian.
I see.
It doesn't work with require. And it's server-side, obviously.
Yeah.
But if I can
that's a server-side.
Yeah, there is no reason why not using Klipse for it. So I could make a /Klipse or /Clojure or /ClojureScript or whatever. And then it will be able to run ClojureScript code. There might be a problem, and this is also something that I want to mention. What are the limitations of Klipse that I'm aware of? So one thing that you mentioned is that it's not completely Clojure, it's ClojureScript, which might be, sometimes it might be an issue. And another issue is that because it's client-side, it might be dangerous. And in what sense it could be dangerous? So one danger, which is not a danger, is that in my blog, for example, I could write a dangerous code snippet. And when you will open my blog as a reader, I will do something harmful on your machine. But why it is not a real danger? Because I could do it anyway in JavaScript. I could have a regular HTML page, and in the script tag, I could do something harmful. So this is already available. This is the danger of the web. But something.
So there's no extra danger just because you're using a different language.
Exactly. But if you think about clojuredocs.org, let me bring it back. If you think about this site, then there is a real danger because this is like a wiki site. So it's a collaborative site. Anyone can edit examples, but if I could write a harmful example as a writer to Clojure Docs, and then all the readers of this website will be harmed by my code. So this is something to think about.
Yeah. So if I have a blog and I have some Klipse functionality in my blog, then when the user hits refresh, they're going to see the original example that I have written in.
Yes.
But if an attacker somehow gained some access to the
so if it's a regular
site,
blog, there is no problem. If it's a blog when you are the only author, there is no problem, because I, as an attacker, will not be able to modify the code of your blog. But if it's a collaborative blog, when you allow anybody to write content, then an attacker could also edit content and put harmful content. Like
so in that case, you'd want some sort of trust-based system of users having to gain the privilege of writing.
This is one solution. Another solution will be to have a JavaScript version of eval that has limited privilege, like kind of a sandbox eval. And there is stuff like this around there. Another solution could be to run the code into a sandbox environment, into a web worker. Then it cannot do so many harm, but then you cannot manipulate the DOM. So it's not a simple problem, and probably the solution is not going to be so easy.
I see. Well, Yehonathan, maybe what I'll do is kind of put you back on the screen. Is that okay? All right. So let's see. There you are. Hello. And at this time, I think what I'll do is just invite questions before we wrap our meeting up. It's important that everyone leaves with a good feeling they have understood what's presented. And if they're, if you feel like this was sort of like way over your head and you'd like some more help with it, then I could meet with you, one-on-one. And so you could reach out to me personally through the forum, and we would give you some more personal attention, because we want everyone, this is a forum about learning, and we want everyone to feel like they're getting a lot of value here. So so there's that. If you have a question that you feel like compelled to ask Yehonathan now,
it could be a question or an idea. If you think that based on what you have heard, you want to, I don't know, write a blog post or write something or do something or share something or show something or whatever, even if it's not a question, just you want to share your enthusiasm or your idea and get feedback on the idea before you go and implement it, I think that's the good time for it.
And one of the things I would kind of just talk about for a minute is while folks, I don't see a lot of questions coming in right now. Let's see. Okay, wait, there is one from Nola. My blog uses Python's pigments. Maybe it's old. I added to my blog and got this error. Pigments can't parse unknown language, language-Klipse, runtime error. Is it possible to still use pigments?
I don't know what pigments is.
It's spelled P-Y-G-M-E-N-T-S. So that sounds like something we can maybe troubleshoot. Oh, it's for syntax highlighting. So
yes. So yeah, maybe we can troubleshoot offline. I might have an idea. Okay. Feel free to reach me. This is my email, or open an issue on the Klipse repo, or there is the Klipse channel on Slack.
Great.
It's a good place to send questions. And when I am available, I am happy to help anyone to troubleshoot issues.
Well, Noel is the person who answers my questions, so when she starts asking questions, I get nervous. Okay, let's see here. Any other questions? I don't see any other questions popping in, but one thing I would just point out, I know we've gone a few minutes over, but I feel like it was worth it because we wanted to kind of hit our stride and get through the substantial content. So between now and a month from now, when Yehonathan comes back to visit us, we can be thinking about what types of projects we'd like to do on our blogs. One of the guiding questions for this talk was, how can we improve the first contact experience for people coming in to Clojure or even to programming for the first time? And I would just tell a quick story about my first experience with Clojure. My mother and my business partner my mother, who is my business partner, and I were in Washington, D.C. We were working on a big project, and we had just gotten done with it, and I wanted to like get right into Clojure because I was excited about it. I'd heard about it, and so I got on the Clojure Cones website and was able to do the Clojure Cones, I guess, in Clojure script right on the web page. And that was such a cool experience because I was able to get started But I did bump into problems when I got to the def multi stuff, and I didn't feel that smart at that because I got stuck there. So I'm a big fan of allowing a student to come along and start interacting with a web page right away. Nothing to install. They don't have to mess with boot. They don't have to mess with Leiningen. They can just start interacting with Clojure right away. And so for me, that was my first experience with Clojure, and it was a great experience, the 95% of it. And so what I see with Klipse is a tool where we can, what's neat about it is that each one of us can go out and create a first contact experience that we wish we would have had. And in so doing, we're going to attract people to that first contact experience who sort of need the experience that we wanted. And so my experience might be different than yours. And that's what I think is so cool about this, is that my particular vision for what we could do in this group together, with our quarterly hackathons and all of that is, a lot of times what people do is when they're learning to program, they might do several things. And then when people ask them, well, how did you learn to program? They might summarize it by saying, well, I read this book or I did that. But if we could sort of more accurately track what people are doing to learn, the best analogy I can sort of give as an example is like ants. When they go out foraging for food from the colony, they leave a trail of pheromones so that the first ant that returns to the colony with food, the other ants are able to smell. Their trail has twice the scent that the other trails do. So they can sort of scientifically know what the fastest route to the food is. And so if we can create curriculum paths, if we can start developing feedback about, what are the fastest, most effective ways to learn and start sharing that with each other, I sort of think of it like Amazon reviews, for learning. Because if I want to buy a toaster, or I want to buy a book, or I want to buy, just about anything, even if I'm not going to buy it from Amazon, I'll go to Amazon and read the reviews and say, okay, this is a 4.5 star or 4-star or 5-star product. And then I'm looking to see how many people, have submitted a review for that product. And then what were the experiences? And so, that's sort of a neat vision, is to think about when we're sharing the paths that we take to learn with each other, and then we can review those paths. Other people can review those paths. We could do that anonymously, etc. But it would just be a way of having some more data around what is actually working and helping us learn. So, that's a little bit of maybe the longer term vision. And
by the way, there are two ways.
Please.
There are two ways of doing that. One way could be to develop our own, interactive, compelling experience. And another way would be to put pressure on the people who are already on the first row, like, the Clojure.org website. So if you guys, all of you, or maybe the 17 of us, are starting to write to Alex Miller and say, hey, why Clojure.org is not interactive? Or if we write to Zach Tellman, why ClojureDocs.org is not interactive, maybe it will put pressure on him and we can join forces. We are not obliged to go in an alternative path, or maybe we can do both.
Yeah, and my first instinct on that, Yehonathan, is to say, let's maybe eat our own dog food for it for a few months, and build some great experiences, and then show them what we're doing, and make our story so compelling that you know, because I can understand maybe people at first with the new technology, you know, they have their own site stability, and there's some of the security issues which you mentioned, and how to handle that stuff. So I think if we can solve some of those problems and go to them with a really polished answer to that, then it's almost a no-brainer for them. But there's a lot about what you said that I definitely agree with. I'm behind you on that intention very much. So Nina says, thanks for this. I agree with Jay. It would be great to see some start to finish tutorials using Klipse. It is frustrating to go through a blog post and get errors that you have to debug as a newbie before proceeding. So yeah, that's a huge value proposition I see with Klipse. I want to thank everyone for coming. We will reconvene in a month. Yehonathan and I will get together and figure out the exact date and let everyone know. And okay, great. Daniel is saying it was really incredible, both the presentation and the kind hosting. Wonderful, Daniel. Thank you so much. The other thing I just want to put in here is the URL to our I lost my mouse cursor. I hate it when that happens. Here we go. There's the URL to our discussion site. Everyone is welcome to join. It's free. It always will be. I sort of planted the seed of talking to Yehonathan about maybe he would create some more elaborate tutorials. So we'll be posting for Klipse, and so we'll be posting some of that in the site if and when that happens. Or maybe instead of tutorials, I meant to say like a more extended type webinar educational experience. So this was just sort of a taste, and then Yehonathan's been so generous to agree to come back in a month, and we'll have more details on the discussion site about that. Yehonathan, were there any ending thoughts that you wanted to wrap up with?
No, just to encourage everybody to join the ride. We are together. Every contribution is welcome, every idea, every suggestion, every rewrite of material that is not written properly. I'm not a marketing person. It's really, really appreciated. As they say in every package, if you like it, write your own blog or tell to your friend. If you find the issues, let me know, and I will be happy to try to fix.
Thank you for your generosity and your time and your helpfulness, Yehonathan. We very much appreciate you being here. I have a habit of, I will hang out for the next few minutes. If anyone has any questions about the discussion, a value learning site and what we're doing and what we're up to, I will basically cut the video right here, and we'll post what you've already seen up to YouTube, and then everything after this point will be private. And so at this time, I'd like to officially end this seminar. Yehonathan, thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you in a month.
Bernard, if you want to stay to discuss a bit, to elaborate about what you wrote on the forum, I have a couple of minutes. I'd be happy to.
Okay, great. Oh, great. Yehonathan will stay, and then also, so with that, we'll just officially end the broadcast and wish you all a wonderful day, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And if, for those of you that would like to stay and hang out, you're also welcome to come on the screen and ask a question with your webinar camera, and you're also welcome to type in any questions. And so for those people that that wanted to maybe not be on YouTube, this is also a good chance for you as well. Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Jeremiah. Thank you, Bernard. Thank you, Tobias. Thank you, Blaine. Thank you, DJZ. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Nina. Thank you, Nola. Thank you, Jan. Okay. Okay. Thank you, James. Tobias has a question. How am I learning about the next session in a month? Okay. I am going to share my screen. So Tobias, there's a couple answers to that question. The best way to stay in touch with us is to join the forum, and then you'll get an email announcing each of our meetings. And so I tell you what I will do is go through and send everyone that attended the webinar a personal invitation to the forum. And that way, the personal invitations just basically mean that you don't have to log in your first visit. And so that'll be a shortcut. But I'm just going to put, if you're super eager and want to get ahead of that process, there is the URL to the forum. It's discuss.thevalueoflearning.org. And it's a discourse site that also serves as a place where you can chat with other people live. You can do discussions on the forum, and then you can also, it's also a mailing list, so I can send out messages to everyone and let them know about our events. Any other questions about the other thing that's kind of interesting that maybe I'll just talk a little bit about is earlier I mentioned about talking to Yehonathan about, you know, developing maybe like a webinar or something like that. One of the things that I've done on the site is I have a category called $. And that's a place where people who are members of the community and are active members of the community can let you know, the other members know what they're up to, what products and services that they're offering. And if you don't want to see those offers, you can ignore, there's instructions on how you can ignore everything from that category so you don't get notified of that stuff. And so it's kind of a neat way that the people who don't want to see commercial offers can ignore them, and the people that do want to be plugged in can. I'm sort of the mind that people who are, you know, like, there's a lot of people in the Clojure community who are developing great content, and I want to give them a place to let us know as a community about what they're up to. Like Ryan Neufeld, who has the Clojure remote conferences, you know, we want to know about those, and other people who are producing videos and stuff like that. So it looks like we don't have a lot of questions coming in, so I think just one more thing to ask you before we sign off, Yehonathan.
Yeah.
The stuff that you mentioned about Clojure script being self-hosting, a person doesn't have to really understand a lot of those technical details to leverage Klipse, because it is a very simple plugin that just plugs into the page. But if a person wants to get more technical, like, you know, I guess the question I'm asking is, where is a good place to kind of start learning about some of that stuff? Is it just like through the regular Clojure script website itself?
So first of all, there is the blog post by David Nolan. This one that explains the importance of it. And then one of the issues with self-host ClojureScript is that it's not really well documented. Or there are a lot of pieces of information spread over the web somewhere, and it's not, when you encounter an issue, it's really painful to debug it. But usually it will be when you encounter an issue, I mean you as a Klipse developer, or if you want to make your own product or tool based on self-host ClojureScript. You as a blogger, I don't think that you will need to do that, but so one place also to where you could have a lot of information is the CLJS Dev channel, and there are two people really strong. There is Mike Fikes, and there is Antonio Montoniero, but I'm not sure how to write his name. Mike Fikes is the guy that made the Plank, which was
the Plank. Yeah,
Antonio is the guy that made Lumo. So a good place to start would be to post a question on this channel, and maybe if someone wants to take the challenge to gather all the information about self-host ClojureScript, it will be could be very interesting.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. And do you agree with that statement that you really don't have to know that much about self-hosting ClojureScript to get in and start hacking on Klipse?
For you, it's just the fact that it's just the fact that ClojureScript code could be evaluated in the browser. But at some point, you will get very curious about how is it possible and what are the limitations, maybe. So we'll probably want to dig into it a bit.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we're just going to give it a last call for questions. If you have any questions, this is going to be the last opportunity to ask before we end the broadcast, end this second part of the question and answer. And then we'll be seeing each other on the forums, and we'll be seeing each other a month from now when we reconvene. And I'll send out a message to everyone who attended, so you'll know about that as well.
It's nice that almost all of the people that signed to the webinar actually showed up. It's not trivial.
Yeah, we had a great attendance, so this is fantastic, and I have a strong feeling that has a lot to do with Klipse, and that people were really interested to see this topic, because last week I don't think we had quite the percentage of people show up that signed up. So is there another question? Let's see. There is Paul has a question. Is adding JS libraries to Klipse same as adding ClojureScript libraries?
So if I understand correctly the question, let's say in a blog post you want to use D3, for example, that you like, or any other JavaScript library. So fortunately, it's much simpler with JavaScript. The only thing that you need to do in order to use a JavaScript library in a Klipse blog post is to include the script tag of the JavaScript library that you can take from a CDN, and then that's it. It's accessible with, in ClojureScript, and you want to access JavaScript code, you use JS/. What JavaScript library did you have in mind, or is it just a general question? Paul, if you can write into the chat, maybe the name of the JavaScript library, or is it a general question? Yeah. Oh.
Just general.
Oh,
mainly
so
D3.
I just said D3 like that. Yeah, just add you know what I mean by the CDN, right? You can find the D3 hosted somewhere in a CDN.js or something. You put it on a script tag into your blog post, and then you can use it. This trick will not work if you want to use the Klipse app that I showed in the beginning, the app Klipse.tech. It won't work because there you cannot modify the page. But if you are the host, if you want the one that hosts the page, like for example in a blog post, then you can do whatever you want, and then you will just do ds/d3 and it will work. I'm trying to think if I did something like that already. I don't think so, but let me show you another example that is a semi-answer to your question. Let me show you this. Yeah. So, can I share my screen again?
Yes, we're looking at it.
Oh, you can see my screen already, right?
Yes.
So here it's a blog post using Klipse, but with JavaScript snippets. And there is this extremely cool library named TG, which stands for TextGen. And you see, it's simply loaded here, and I can use this library here. So let me show you, Paul, how I did it.
Great.
I did it by
one of the things that I think is so cool, Yehonathan, is this reminds me of the early days of the web when you wanted to learn something, you just viewed the source, and Klipse is bringing us back to that. If I want to see what you've done, it's all right here in the source.
Yeah. So here I did something similar, but it's not exactly the same. You see here this URL. For some reason, maybe without any reason. Okay, there are two ways of including a script tag into Klipse, either by a regular script tag, but when you have a JavaScript Klipse snippet, you can also specify files to be loaded before the code of the snippet run. So for some reason, I prefer to do it this way, but you could. Now, I know why I did this way. I will tell you why. There is a good reason. If you add this directly into as a script tag, it won't work because I think the MIME type of this will be text. So the browser will not evaluate the code of it. But inside Klipse, inside the Klipse snippet, I do an XHR call to the content of this file and evaluates it. So this is why it works. But probably.
So that's an Ajax call.
Regular Ajax code, and I do eval. But if you can, because this is not a real CDN for JavaScript files. But if the file is hosted on a proper CDN, you can just include it as a script tag. So I hope it answers your question, Paul.
Yeah. Yehonathan, regarding Google Closure with an S, how much Google Closure do you know? Is it something that you've dug deeply into, and do I need to dig deeply into it myself?
To deal with it, but usually when you write Closure script code, when you have your own project, you need to know a bit about Closure, because this is the Closure script code is transpiled into JavaScript by Closure script, but then it is packaged together into a single JavaScript file by Google Closure, and it's minified also by Google Closure. So, and something interesting. Interesting that just happened last week. I hope it will not be too confusing. But when you develop a Closure script project, the compiler that you use is written in Closure. So the Closure script compiler is written in Closure, right? With the regular Closure, the JVM-based Closure. But what the guy Antonio that made the Lumo did just last week is that he bootstrapped the compiler itself. And actually, he built a compiler, a complete compiler environment built on self-host Closure script. And this is possible because there is a Google Closure compiler available now in JavaScript. And it just happened, I don't know, maybe half a year ago or something. So, and this is also kind of the holy grail that people will, they want to be free from the JVM. So hopefully in a near future, there will be a completely JVM-free ClojureScript build environment.
Okay. And so so the only reason I need to kind of get into Google Closure is if I'm, if I want that functionality in my ClojureScript project sort of outside of Klipse. Like it's generally helpful to learn, but we don't need it to get started with Klipse.
Not at all. The only thing that you need to know is that Klipse cannot minify itself. So this is why the JavaScript is much bigger than for other languages.
Okay, that might be interesting. So you're, could you explain that a little bit more detail? Just a minute.
Usually, so when I build a JavaScript file with ClojureScript, when I want to deploy it to production, I will use the Google Closure optimization called Advanced that will minify by a factor of 10 or something like that my JavaScript file. And the main trick that so it will do a lot of very advanced trick like remove dead code and renaming a function to very, very short names all the way down. So it's not just an uglifier like the Yahoo uglifier that everybody uses or another one. It really understands your code and does a lot of manipulation, which allows you to have a very small footprint when you build a ClojureScript project. But unfortunately, this cannot work with self-host ClojureScript because you need a lot of symbols that are not required when you build your project to be available at runtime. For example, in the Klipse code, I might never use the reduce function, but in Klipse, when the user will use Klipse, he will use reduce. And if this has not been compiled into the JavaScript file of Klipse, it won't work. So the symbol cannot be renamed, and the non-use code cannot be removed with self-host ClojureScript. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it does. I think it does. To be honest, that's the kind of thing that we could get into in the future and maybe kind of draw out and visualize. That I'm the kind of learner that likes to really take a pencil and paper to it and draw it out and look at it. But I'm glad the verbal description you gave was very effective. I think what I'd like to go back and is rewatch this and then draw it out. And the final question that I have for you is about the GPL3 license, which you've licensed Klipse under.
Yeah, so I'm not a license expert at all. And I even don't remember exactly what this license means. So maybe you remember?
Yeah. Well, yeah. So I guess the general thing that, there's, I'm going to butcher this, but, there's kind of two main camps within the open source and free communities. That's the GPL license is free as in freedom, not free as in beer. And that's sort of about giving the user certain freedoms that they're guaranteed, which one of those freedoms is the fact that, when you publish something as open source, that a company couldn't take it, make changes to it, and keep those changes for themselves. They have to publish those changes. Open source is more along the lines of like a BSD, Apache Eclipse style license where basically you can take the code and do anything you want with it. And so one of the things that I know that people become concerned about with the GPL3 is the fact that they're not able to take the software and incorporate it into commercial products without worrying about it, basically. So I don't know how relevant that is, since this is since one of the use cases we're looking at is for blogs and that sort of thing. But it is something for us to maybe, think about.
Maybe we can
talk
about it later on, just the two of us together to understand better the application.
Yeah. And then if anyone else has any opinions or ideas or experience with that licensing stuff after hearing this conversation and wants to reach out to us as well, welcome to do that. So since I don't see any more questions coming in, let's see. Yeah. Okay. So I think we got that question. So we don't have any more questions. Yehonathan, thank you so much. I know it's late. You've been so generous with your time, and thank you for yes, and thank you, Bernard. Thanks again, everybody, for attending. I'm going to go ahead and sign off now, and Yehonathan, I guess we'll see you in a month, and then in the meantime, we'll be seeing you around the forums. And everyone, I just want to encourage everyone to please give Yehonathan feedback on Klipse. He's very genuinely interested in hearing from you, and I got that, in my conversations with him, and I'm sure you pick up on that too. So he's just really interested in developing a community around this and getting feedback. And obviously, there already is a community. There are many people using Klipse in their blogs. And we can just ask ourselves, when we get back together again in a month, what is it that we will have to show each other in our work? So we'll compile a list of all that stuff at our next meeting about what everyone has done. So thank you very much, Yehonathan, and have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.